Alright, so there's two other things we need to talk about, and then should be more than completed for this badge, is just the forms. And I'm going to actually go into a little bit of CSS, which I played around with just by looking at what simple things that the professor was teaching us, um, and me personally messing around with, since I know pretty much nothing, next to nothing, with this stuff. Really, what scared me, but really, it really shouldn't, I guess, is because we have to do forms for this assignment. They're not supposed to work. You're supposed to be able to use them, but information is not going to go anywhere. And it's seemed I was nervous about doing this, but it actually is pretty simple. All I did was follow the books format with regards to this. So for the art and the dog HTML, I did two forms. On the art one, here's the form right here. You have the open and close, and then you have, for each option to select, for me, what I decided to do is have, like, say, okay, well, what drawing did you like best, and then list the options for you to choose from, and then hit and submit the form. There are only 3 options, but pretty much the format is the same. There's an input type. I selected radio. Radio is the little circle dials that you can select, and then it's filled in with a dot. So I chose radio. Name I'm not too familiar with, but I know that was the format, so I chose a name for it, drawing photo. And then the value. The value, for me, is going to mimic exactly what the option is to select from. So my value is Squall Leonhardt from Final Fantasy VIII. And then again, there's the 2 other options, Chrono, and then Edward Ulrich. So on the dog, before I show you what it looks like on the pages, because this format is pretty much the same, for my dog, I did the same thing. There's your form, your open and close. Notice that I did a break after each input type. And I did that here as well. So yeah, there is that that I did do, and then again the format was pretty much the same for me because I wanted to do the radio dial. So input types is all radio, the name is all the same, and then the values change according to what it was for the selection. So I did that. I hit save. This is on an the title for it is on an H3 header, or and taking a look at it, it's pretty simple. It's all the way down here, and it's really simple. So which drawing do you like best? And you can select and submit, and it just takes you to the top of the page because it really goes nowhere, the information. And then you'll see the same thing for Toby. So which photo do you like best? And as you can see, I love dressing him up for Halloween. Believe it or not, he likes it too. So that's pretty much it. Really quickly, what I want to also look at next is the CSS that I did for this. So you may notice if you're following along that you did the tables the way I had them done, but they're not centered, or they don't look exactly right, because I did put some I did add some CSS. So on a CSS file, really there's nothing to do. You just start, and and you start with it, and then it really does follow the HTML format easily enough, in the sense that instead of, you know, the greater than less than signs, you have the curly brackets, and then you're selecting, this is, you know, I'm saying here, in this case I'm saying here for all the tables in this file, I want the padding to be 5 pixels, the border spacing to be 2 pixels, and for margin to be set to auto. When you set the margin to auto, it centers everything, and then this gives some breathing room around it, which is really nice. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, because the first thing you want to do when you create a CSS file is, you know, you name it whatever you want to name it. You put it in the CSS folder, which there it is right there, my style CSS.css. And then on each page, we'll start with the index. You're going to link to that style, that CSS page, and this is where you do it, right here in the head, right under the meta. You'll link to it. It's a style sheet, so you're going to put this information. This information is going to be pretty much exactly the same until you get more familiar with CSS. But this is at this point I still have not seen where this changes really. So I put this information in, and then the where you can find it is you go into the CSS folder, because remember, the index file is here, and with all the other HTML files, they're here in the general folder, and then we're going down into a subfolder that's in that file. So we're going into the CSS file, and we're choosing the mystyle.css link, or rather file. So what we're going to do is, you're going to, of course, after you've done that, you're going to copy this to every single page. I'm sorry, every single page, and then here's your mystyle.css file. The other things that I did, in case you haven't noticed, my favorite color is green. There are some shades of green I don't like, and I wasn't really much liking the shades I chose, but I didn't have as much time. I did work quite a bit of time on this. So really quickly, what I'll show you is I chose my colors that I chose it from this link, colorpicker.com, and you know, can select any type of, you see I was in here somewhere choosing all these different shades of green, and then I even tried some yellow, but then I said this is just getting too wild. So when you do that, you're actually getting a hex code, which is this number right here, and you can copy and paste that, and then you can put that into your CSS file. So in this case, what you'll see is, like, for instance, the background color. In the body, there's certain options you can use for the body, which I researched via CSS on I don't even think I have it up anymore. I don't. But there is a great CSS tutorial. CSS tutorial. W3 School CSS. A lot of options here. They tell you pretty much everything, and how to do everything, and what things you can do to certain tags, for instance. So like if you want to like change something in the body, these are some of the options that you can do. And that's what I was just looking and messing around with. So we're going backwards. So I talked about the table, you know, got some padding, border spacing. You'll notice with the CSS files that you have to end pretty much everything in a semicolon. Everything has to be encompassed in the curly brackets, and then whatever it is you're affecting is the name. Excuse me. So for this to be easier to read, I entered the body CSS information like this, which actually is a better format if you want to do that going forward. So I wanted to mess around with the margin left, margin right, and I used percentage. You'll learn that you could use percentage, pixels, and there's some other options, but the popular one is pixels. And percent. So I want this indented, the left margin indented 5%, right margin indented 5% padding. This is your left padding. The way it flows is like clockwork, so it's left, or I'm sorry, it's top. This is your top, this is your right, this is your bottom, and this is your left. So if you're ever wondering why, you remember that it's just like a watch. Look at a watch and see how that rolls. So this is top, right, bottom, left. And then background color, which is here. Now, if you use padding, there are some shorthands, but you know that's going farther into CSS. For now, you don't really need to worry about all of that. The other thing that I did really quickly is I did decided to change the font, because I always like to mess around with fonts. So for the H1, I wanted this font. Now with these fonts, they always say to give like several options in case the computer does not have this font, and this font is under, because of the name, it's under, I'm sorry, because of the space, it's under quotes. So you have this font. If the computer doesn't have that font, then this font, use this font, and always end with a general font that's either serif or sans serif. So all my fonts are sans serif because it's easier to read on computers. So I chose several fonts for the H1, for the H2, and then also for the paragraph. Paragraph pretty much mimics the H1. The one thing I did different on the H1 is I did a font variant because I wanted to do just small caps. And then also I did a background color because I was, again, messing around with it, and I said, let me try and put a background color in here and see what it looks like. And again, it was another shade of green. And of course then, you know, after you put all this information in and you mess it around with it however you want to do it, you save and you reload, and of course then you'll see the colors. This is not exactly the best shade of green, but it works to do it, to show what I wanted to try to show. So that's actually it. I think that covered everything that needs to be in the HTML5 core badge, and then once you've done all of that, you're actually complete. And the CSS is a little bit extra, so but this does prepare you for going forward, and that's it.